Summer is here, and with that is outdoor fun in the sun. But before you run out that door and onto the beach, you should take a moment to think about skin health. And I know I'm probably sounding like your doctor, your parents, maybe even your grandparents right now. But as someone who has seen up close what not protecting yourself from excessive UV exposure looks like, this is important. Not only does healthy skin keep you looking younger, longer, but it also helps avoid melanoma and other health conditions later in life. I have multiple people close to me in my own life who have had to undergo surgery, sometimes major surgery, to stop the spread of skin cancer. Sun safety isn't the most fun thing to think about when you're out on the beach or even spending the day in your garden, but trust me, you'll thank yourself later. Stick with me and watch the rest of this video. I know it's a bit boring, and these days you may even have some preconceived notions about what I'm going to say, but please, have a little faith and give me a chance. The sun. The bright glowing ball in the sky that you definitely shouldn't look at. It throws off a lot of energy. It gives us heat, which allows for liquid water to exist on Earth, and why any of us exist. It gives us light, which is the basis for almost all plant life on Earth and how we humans see things. It also gives us some things that we need to be careful about, and for this video, that means UV light. Ultraviolet light exists just beyond our visible spectrum, and the UV wavelength contains enough energy that, when it interacts with our skin cells, these rays actually cause a burn. And calling it a sunburn isn't just wordplay either. It is a burn just like you get from any heat source. In severe cases, there can be blistering, peeling, even nausea, fever, or chills. If you've never been burned that badly, count your lucky stars. Some people are more sensitive to being burned than others. We all know someone who needs to cake on the goop lest they turn into a human tomato. I am one of those people, and although looking like a Scooby-Doo ghost isn't flattering, I'll take that over the alternative. Just because you don't burn easily, though, doesn't mean that your skin isn't impacted by UV light. Everyone should take care of their skin in order to stay healthy. The biggest, simplest, mostiest, hopefully not toastiest thing that you can do to stay safe is use sunscreen. Yes, sunscreen. The thing that screens the sun. The effectiveness of sunscreen is measured by SPF, which stands for Sun Protection Factor. This widely known term is simply a quick way to represent how protective the sunscreen is. Essentially, the higher the SPF, the more UV light it blocks. The lowest recommendation for adequate protection is 30 SPF, but many people, including myself, go with 50 or higher. Which SPF you reach for can be based on your skin's own need and how much UV there is on that day. The level of UV light at any given time is impacted by many variabilities, but the strongest among them are location, time of day, and atmospheric elements. Being closer to the equator, where the sun's rays hit the atmosphere more directly, increases how much UV light makes it through our planet's protective layer. During the hours of 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., or 1200 to 1500 hours for our 24-hour clock-enhanced friends, the sun's light strikes most directly and further enhances how much UV reaches the surface. Clearer days allow the most light to reach us, but don't be lulled into a false sense of safety by clouds, because they do not, in fact, block UV light, and you can still be burned on cloudy days. Anecdotally, several doctors and nurses that I know have told me that they see more cases of severe sunburn on cloudy days than on sunny ones, because people don't realize that they aren't safe. There are also two types of UV light, UVA and UVB. UVB protection is very important. because it is 1,000 to 2,000 times more damaging than UVA. Make sure that your sunscreen protects against UVB as well as UVA. There are two types of sunscreens on the market: traditional sunscreen, which is a chemical-based protection, and mineral, which is a mineral-based protection. Both types of products have their pros and cons, but both provide protection from ultraviolet light. The more widely known and familiar sunscreens are the chemical-based products. These use chemicals that are absorbed by your skin and then provide protection from UV light. The protection is caused by the chemicals absorbing the energy from the UV rays instead of your skin's cells. Some common active ingredients are avobenzone, homosalate, octasalate, and octinoxate. Chemical sunscreens are lighter to wear, transparent, and often more water-resistant, meaning that they stay on your skin when exposed to water. However, their drawbacks can be that some people may experience an allergic reaction, and they take time to become effective, typically about 20 minutes. Over the years, concerns have also grown about the safety of these sunscreens using those chemicals. By design, those chemicals are absorbed into the skin, and inevitably, some of them make their way to your bloodstream. While the long-term safety or danger of those chemicals has not been conclusively determined, many people, including health professionals, advocate for better alternatives. To that end of safer sunscreens, last week, the FDA approved a new ingredient for sunscreen, bemotrizanol. It's the first new ingredient to be added to U.S. sunscreen in more than 25 years, but it's been in use in Europe and Asia for decades. Now, I'm not going to dive into the regulatory hurdles that had stood in the way of this ingredient being used in U.S. sunscreens, but this is widely regarded as a step in the right direction. The good news is this ingredient will replace the older chemicals, and there are significantly fewer concerns over the safety of bemotrizanol than the compounds it is replacing. The bad news is that it will likely be a year or more before we see this ingredient hit the shelves of our supermarkets. Mineral sunscreens, which are widely available right now, are the other option. Just like the chemical-based products, these two have pros and cons. Among the pros are being less likely to cause allergic reactions, meaning that these are good for sensitive skin, and they offer immediate protection. Since mineral sunscreens work by reflecting UV light rather than absorbing it, they work as soon as they are put on. The cons are that these products are often thicker, leaving a visible white cast on your skin, and they can be harder to apply and feel heavier to wear. Now, since we're here in the studio, I'm going to take a moment to show you exactly what a mineral and chemical sunscreen look like after application, since this is a point of concern for many people. The first one I'm going to put on is the chemical sunscreen. This is the one that many people are familiar with, as it's been available longer in the US. I don't want anyone to think that because I am showing this particular product or this one, that they are receiving any sort of special endorsement. They are not. They just happen to be things that I personally use. Now, as you can see under the camera, that's a pretty typical application of just a little dab of chemical sunscreen. We're all pretty familiar with this. I'm going to rub this in and then show you what it looks like after. And through the movie magic, 20 seconds is gone. And as you can see, there's really no sign that anything was there. There's no sheen or anything like that that's standing out. It's very transparent. There is, of course, that kind of oily or greasy feeling on the surface, but that's it. Now, this is the mineral sunscreen. Again, no particular endorsement. This is just a product that I happen to use myself. accidentally applied a little more than I intended. As you can see, it looks pretty similar to the chemical-based sunscreen. This is a mineral sunscreen, and if you didn't know that, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I'm going to put this on, and once again, through movie magic, I'm done. Now, it's a bit hard to tell in the light of the studio, which isn't ideal for showing this off to camera, but there is a very light white sheen. I'm going to hold my arms up so people can see. They're pretty similar in skin tone, but when I hold my right arm under the camera, as opposed to my left arm, it's ever so slightly whiter. It does feel a tiny bit heavier, this particular product. It's a little bit greasier, but not that much. You'd still notice it though. And if you don't like being washed out in pictures, this tends to stand out more when it's on your face. So if you're taking pictures that day and that matters, maybe then the mineral sunscreen might not be the perfect use. But for the money, I can't really tell that much of a difference. And I am a professional photographer, so I wouldn't really mark this as something to be concerned about. Every product is different, but the ones that I'm displaying here, you can see fairly similar effects. Notably, there are no medical concerns with mineral sunscreens, but on the other hand, they are also often less water resistant than chemical sunscreens. That means that you'll have to reapply more frequently if you're in the water. Importantly, both types of sunscreens will keep your skin safe in the sun as long as you follow the directions for use. Another thing that you might have seen when shopping for sunscreen is reef safe. One thing we do know about our sunscreens is that they have the potential to damage coral reefs. That damage is principally caused by the chemicals in them. Now, the idea behind reef-safe products is that the sunscreen does not contain chemicals that damage reefs and other sea life when it inevitably washes off of you. Be cautious, though, because reef-safe or reef-friendly are terms that are thrown on a lot of products, but they are in no way regulated. And that means that when you are shopping, you can't necessarily trust the label. To be sure that any product you use is safe for aquatic life, you need to look for sunscreen with either of these two active mineral ingredients, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Avoiding chemical sunscreens when you go in the water is an important part of keeping all our waterways healthy. There are quite a few health and environmental organizations that have guides on finding reef-safe sunscreen. The Surfrider Foundation recently published their guide on reef-friendly sunscreens, and it includes links to the scientific studies they reference, and I'm always for showing your work, so I'm including a link to it in the description below. So what if you can't use or don't want to use sunscreen? Perhaps you have sensitive skin or sensation issues, something else entirely. It doesn't matter. What is the best way to protect yourself from the sun then? Well, the most straightforward answer is cover up. Umbrellas, parasols, long sleeves, and big silly floppy hats. That's the answer. Now, not all fabrics are equal when it comes to sun protection. You want something that is tightly woven and materials that are good at absorbing UV light, which are typically blended or synthetic fabrics. If you want the best protection, you're also going to want a darker, heavier fabric and a loose fit. If you're going swimming, you can also consider a water shirt to give you protection that won't slough off in the waves. I have one, and I love it. Mine even has a hood on it to keep the top of your head safe. There's also clothing that is specifically rated and marketed with UPF, which stands for Ultraviolet Protection Factor. Wearing clothing for UV protection is my usual approach because it's simple and effective. I burn very easily, and by wearing a lightweight, long sleeve, UPF rated top, I stay safe, grease free, and cool. But UV rays can be reflected off of surfaces, especially water, glass, and snow. That means that I still use sunscreen on my face and other exposed skin to make sure that I'm protected when I'm near those conditions, like when I'm on a boat. As I've been writing this, I've kept in the back of my mind the fact that we humans need the sun. Not just to grow plants or keep us warm, we need to be in sunlight for our health. Being outside in sunlight is what promotes vitamin D production in our bodies. And somewhat ironically, for this video's focus on health, we specifically need the UVB, the most intense UV light, to make that vitamin D. While it is absolutely true that we need that sunlight to hit our skin, the reality is you really don't need much of that UV. To maintain a healthy level of vitamin D, humans only need about 4 to 15 minutes a few times a week at midday during those peak UV hours. That length of time will vary greatly depending on all the factors that I mentioned earlier in this video, but it still isn't very much. Once you've got that exposure, which you can get quite easily with a short stroll at lunchtime, you're good. After that length of time, the important health factor is to take care of your skin. Wearing sunscreen or covering up with clothes is still the best thing to do for your health once you've gotten the necessary UV exposure for vitamin D. Even SPF 15 sunscreen protects against skin cancers and precancers. Squamous cell carcinoma and melanoma can be reduced by up to 50% through regular use of sunscreen. In addition to this, it protects against skin aging. Wrinkles, sagging, spots, leathery skin, those all come from not protecting yourself. Those undesirable effects can all be reduced through regular, thorough use of sunscreen. In the end, after you get your dose of vitamin D, it is always advisable to use sunscreen or cover your skin regardless of your age, your skin type, or your location. Any time that you are out and about in the sun, take precaution. Now, this video wasn't exactly about travel, which you might think is a little off-brand, but we don't think so. Even though Far Far Away Travels is a travel agency, our job isn't just to book the travel for you. We take the approach of providing helpful information around your travel as well. Not just about the places you'll be going, but what you might need while you're there. That means that whether you're looking to book a trip to a resort, take a cruise, or just get away for a few days, we can help with that. Each year we book hundreds of vacations for individuals, families, and large groups. We've got years of experience and first-hand knowledge to make sure that you get the best trip possible with support all along the way. Our team of travel professionals can help find and book the best rates and discounts for your trip because it's our job. So don't book on your own. Use our expertise and book with us so we can help get you far, far away.